So, Andrea, how have you been coping with the hosepipe ban? I think that's come into place in Kent today, may have been yesterday.
Yeah, South East Water, I think, today, that's right.
Today.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about that? You've got such a lovely garden.
Well, the garden, we're kind of ready for it, and we haven't really had any rain in Kent for a while, so it's kind of making sure that sort of pots, I've moved them all into the shade. I put trays underneath them, so when I water, it holds any water that runs out the bottom, and they can keep taking it up during the day. It's also kind of knowing that established plants, they're going to be fine. They're going to look pretty crispy and sad this summer, but come the winter, next spring, they'll recover, they'll be okay. And the other thing is kind of being prepared. So every spring, winter, spring, mulching your beds with sort of garden compost that holds in any moisture that's already in your soil and helps the plants get through kind of drought periods. And it's really important, don't dig over your soil. You get that nice crust on the top that actually holds in any moisture that's underneath, which helps them.
And obviously you can't use your hose pipe now in Kent, although I gather that you are allowed to do pots actually in your garden, but not actually the flower bed. Is that right?
I think so. I've got to be honest, I tend to use a watering can anyway. You can be a bit more direct. The bit you need to be watering is down at the roots. You don't want to be getting the leaves wet. Apart from anything, it tends to scorch it with the sunlight. And the bit that actually needs the water is down at the roots. So it tends to be a bit easier with a watering can to direct it where you need it.
We can see some architectural plants behind you as well. I guess that this year will be a warning to people as to what to plant. I mean, geraniums I know very good, they're drought resistant, but what should we be looking at when we look at your garden as to things that are going to really cope with these sorts of summers?
Sort of Mediterranean type plants, because obviously that's the climate they're used to. They'll tolerate kind of periods of dry. And also some shrubs will. It's a kind of question of, you know, if you go looking for plants, look at the labels, look for plants that say will tolerate drought. My shrub that you can see behind me is a Vigela, and they're actually really good for drought. I mean, that hasn't had any water at all this summer. It's just kind of done its own thing, really. I have the advantage it's been there a long time, which does really help. And other kind of plants like winter jasmine, that's really drought tolerant. That doesn't seem to mind getting dry too much.
Can you give us, I'm not sure if you can move your camera, but you're able to give us a little bit of a tour of the colourful flowers behind you. We're very intrigued by the pink and the purple ones. Beautiful.
Okay.
Good camera work,
so
whoever's working the camera.
So that's geranium, the usual kind of bedding plant. The only thing is that won't survive the winter outdoors, so I take it inside through the winter. And then this is a Dahlia. There again, in the winter, this actually, it dies down to nothing. It's just a tuber. My little patio here is really sheltered, so it will survive the winter. But if you're somewhere that's that much colder, you will need to protect it in the winter. And then this, I don't know if you can see this little plant down here, Gaura, that's also quite drought tolerant. That would normally be in the ground, but I've only just been given it, so I don't want to plant it yet because it won't cope. So don't put any new plants in at the moment. Keep them in a pot where you can look after them till the ground's a bit wetter.
You're very well prepared. You've got a beautiful garden there. We do have a bit of a question for you because we had a debate in the office this morning about using bath water
or grey water
or shower water.
Washing up water, yeah.
What's the situation with that? Is that a good idea or would you kill off all your plants?
No, that's definitely a good idea. You know, if you kind of collect all your, like, you know, when you have to run the hot water, it takes a while to come through hot. If you catch that water, that hasn't got anything in it, and you kind of store it with your grey water, it's going to dilute anything that's in your washing up water anyway. And the plants will tolerate that, especially if you're putting it onto the beds. It will just kind of, you know, dissipate into the soil and get the water to where it's needed.
Andrea, thank you very much for your time. Enjoy your Gaura. My wife loves them. They're otherwise known as butterfly plants, of course. The butterflies and the bees love them. They've spread everywhere. They're great. Thanks for your time, and thanks for showing us your garden too.